Are the Final Fantasy Commander decks worth your money? Guys, welcome to the video. My name is Jack Talks MTG, and I make Commander content for noobs just like you. And I wanted to make this video specifically for you people out there that are wanting to get into Magic the Gathering through Final Fantasy. You're big Final Fantasy fans, and you're coming in, you're seeing all these Commander decks, you've watched some Commander gameplay online, it looks fun, you want to get involved, and you might be seeing a lot of content right now around these Commander decks, and people leaving reviews and stuff like that. So I wanted to make a video where I gave you guys my thoughts on this, because I think you're going to find them maybe a little bit different to some other people out there. Now, if you don't already know, there is a lot of hype around this Final Fantasy release, and with that, increased prices. Okay, I went through this in my last video, so if you haven't seen that, you can go check that out now. I'll leave like the tag up here somewhere. But yeah, the prices are pretty crazy, which is definitely going to impact whether this product is going to be worth our money. Now guys, I want you to be careful when you're watching review videos, right? Because you need to keep in mind, right, a lot of the time these review videos are for people that mainly care about like the mechanics of the card. They are talking about optimizing the deck and how well the deck plays compared to other decks and stuff like that. And chances are, if you are brand new to Magic the Gathering and you're just coming in because you love Final Fantasy and this is giving you a reason to pick up the game, then I'm going to be honest, a lot of those videos are going to be completely irrelevant and you should just ignore them, because them sitting there giving these decks grades and saying which one is better than the other is just, it's not going to be helpful to you. Not in my opinion anyway, because chances are the deck that you should buy, if you do want to buy one, is going to be really down to your own personal preference rather than any kind of, what kind of optimized plays can this deck do, and what's your value for money that you're getting in terms of reprint value. You don't care about reprint value, let's be honest. You just want to see your favorite characters in a deck. Now, like I said in a previous video, the Final Fantasy Commander deck that you should buy, if you're willing to pay the price that people are asking for it, is based on your favorite Final Fantasy game, right? Each of these 4 decks are based around a separate game. Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7, 10, and 14. So you should just get whichever one is your favorite game, right? Which one are you going to be flicking through the deck, looking at the cards and recognizing all the different characters, And if you've played them all, just maybe get your favorite one. Or if you're getting multiple, if you've got that kind of cash, then, pick your 2 favorite ones. That would be my genuine recommendation. That's just the quick answer. But obviously, there's some other factors that we need to talk about, right? And that is the price. So let's have a little look at that. Okay, so we're going to be using card market prices here because I am UK based, so the prices may vary for you, but they should be pretty similar. Card market's usually quite a good sort of gauge of like market price. So first things first, the MSRP for these decks are around £70. Okay, £70 is what Wizards is recommending that retailers sell these for. Now this is already a price increase, and in my last video I said that I reckon that these decks are going to be pushed quite hard and they're going to have some really nice cards in it. Since then, we have got all the deck lists revealed, and these decks do have some decent reprints in them, okay? Command Zone do a really good breakdown. It's quite a long video, so, if you don't have 2 hours, I'll just try and save you some time now and tell you that the actual like bang for your buck, you are still getting similar price value to your average kind of precon, okay? So that's good to know. In terms of how these decks play, a lot of people are saying they're a bit clunky, they're a little bit messy, a bit all over the place, okay? And that's why they're giving some of these decks like bad reviews, but it's irrelevant, okay? But we'll talk about that again in a minute. Let's just get into these prices. So here we go. Looking at these prices straight away, you can see that they're more than £70, apart from Revival Trance, okay? That's the Final Fantasy VI Commander deck. We can see here the lowest one is £53.80. Okay, so that's a pretty decent price. Bear in mind, a lot of these decks will have like £10 postage on it or something like that, so it's more around 60. But yeah, you can see here, Final Fantasy Limit Break, the Final Fantasy 7, £92.69. And these are the cheapest, right? So they're probably averaging about £100. Scion and Spellcraft, £108, Final Fantasy 14. And then the Counter Blitz one, the Final Fantasy 10, £80. So a lot of money, guys. A lot of money. And, you know, we'll just do an example, right? So the Counter Blitz, Final Fantasy 10. So we've got 80 English, 82 plus £13 postage, right? So 95. So nigh on £100. So most of these Final Fantasy decks are selling for around £100. That is a lot of money, guys. Like a lot of money. And, you know, if you are new to Magic, Commander and stuff like that, you probably don't know. But with these Commander decks, they're not all brand new cards, okay? So these Final Fantasy decks have about 25 new cards in them, I think, which is really decent. And then some of the other cards are other Magic cards, but they have Final Fantasy art on them. Usually, you are getting, if you were to buy all these cards singly, you are getting more for what you're paying for, right? So usually they're fairly good value. So that's something to bear in mind, but that is considering you are paying MSRP. You are not paying MSRP. So chances are, if you are buying these Final Fantasy Commander decks, you are not getting that bang for your buck. So what are you paying for? The Final Fantasy art, guys. Straight up, okay? That is kind of what you're paying for. So if you are a diehard Final Fantasy fan, these insane markups, they might be worth it to you. I'll be honest, okay? It's not good. In terms of like play style, you could get way more probably for your money, and you could build your own optimized deck that's going to play so much better with your favorite Final Fantasy characters if you were to do it yourself. That's just me being honest. But if you're brand new to Commander, building a new deck is quite daunting, okay? So you're probably not going to want to do that. Do you have to pay these insane markups? Well, here's the thing. I don't think these decks are going to stay this price. I think there's a lot of hype right now. There's a lot of fear of missing out, and people are just going crazy, and they're you know, pre-ordering at these insane prices. And the reality is, once that hype goes and all the decks have come out and people have got them and it's come back down a bit, Wizards are going to reprint these decks. They're going to keep reprinting. Commander decks are their #1 selling product, so they are going to keep reprinting them. We've seen these as well. We've seen the evidence, right? Like with Blimbro, super popular. They did do a few print runs of those, okay? Like there was a period where like some of them were crazy money, but now they're coming back down because they've, you know, reprinted them. But you do have to wait for that. And you know, you might not want to wait. You might be so excited. You might be biting at the bit to get these Final Fantasy cards on release day and play them on release. I know how you feel. If that's the case, these insane markups might be worth it. But as long as you know that you are paying to have that on release date to play with cards with Final Fantasy art on them, okay? Not because you are getting a deck that is worth £100, okay? I hope that makes sense to you. Let's talk about the reviews that we're seeing. A lot of people are saying, oh, this deck is a mess because, you know, it's supposed to be this kind of deck, but then it's got all these cards that do all these different things. The thing is, right, Wizards' priority is to make this product for the Final Fantasy fan. Not for all like the serial Commander players, deck builders out there. They're not trying to cater towards you. They want Final Fantasy fans to look through these cards and go, oh look, it's blah 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 blah. You know, the summoner, and her ability does what I would imagine she would do, you know? And because these are all based on games, they have to have all of the characters in them. And sometimes, from a flavor standpoint, what that character would do doesn't maybe necessarily tally up with what the main commander of the deck is trying to do. They've gone for flavor over synergy. And from someone who is a huge fan of theme and flavor and stuff like that, I prefer this, especially with Universes Beyond product. And at the end of the day, Wizards are not trying to sell you a finished product. They want to sell you a base that you can now go on to upgrade. If you buy these decks and you want to continue to invest in the game and you're playing with your friends and you're enjoying your deck, but you realize that your deck is a little bit underpowered compared to your friends, and you want your deck to be a bit more optimized, and you really enjoy this certain card in the deck, like your commander or backup commander or whatever it is, and you want to make them feel even better, make the deck play even better with them, then you can make those edits and you can do those upgrades, and you can take maybe some of those characters out that don't synergize with that commander. You can do that. But also there's the option just to play with the deck, and just everything you're drawing is just Final Fantasy goodness, and you are just completely immersed in the Final Fantasy world, and you're drawing all these characters that you love, and you'll get to play with them and doing all their crazy abilities, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. So please don't get too caught up in watching these review videos and listening to people like rip these decks apart and saying, no, yeah, you want to take all this out, take this out, you know? What if you do that and you don't enjoy the deck as much because you prefer to just play with the Final Fantasy cards? You don't care about having the best deck possible, right? So just, yeah, be careful when people are saying they are like for example, I've seen talk like, you know, that the counter blitz commander deck is the best one. That's the best one. Like, that's the most powerful one. You should buy that one. Or maybe you've never played Final Fantasy X, or maybe you have, but it's not your favorite game. Or if you've already played some Magic the Gathering and you already know kind of what playstyle you like, maybe you don't like counters, right? For example, like I've been playing a bit of Final Fantasy X recently, but I would be hesitant to buy this deck because I'm not really a huge fan of just 1/1 counter playstyle. It just seems a little bit boring to me. I'd rather take a character, say like Yuna for example, and there's a card with her where she's specifically built around like the summons, which I think is so cool, and I would just build my own deck around that, and it's still a Final Fantasy deck, and I'm getting to enjoy that and use a deck that's more my playstyle. It's all down to the individual, guys, right? Just be very careful because these guys are giving you very generalized advice, and it's not always going to, you know, apply to your situation. So to summarize, are the Final Fantasy Commander decks worth your money? Well, it's going to depend on which one you want to buy as well, because if you love Final Fantasy VI, then by all means, buy that one right now because that is a sensible price. The others are extremely marked up, and it's really going to come down to, do you have the patience to wait? Do you need it right now? How much do you care about bang for your buck playstyle? There is a lot of factors going in here, but if I was to just give you a straight answer, it's so hard for me to recommend that you pay £100 for a precon. But if this Final Fantasy precon is going to be the reason you get into Magic the Gathering and you go on to play this amazing game and have it in your life, and you're going to get, you know, hours and hours and hours of fun out of this deck, you believe that, then maybe it's worth the money, okay? But just know that you are paying a lot more. Now, guys, if you want to see me talking about the Final Fantasy cards that got revealed in the debut stream, my thoughts on all of them, then go check out this video here.